Chair, the meeting's now live.
Thank you. Good morning, members and officers, and a warm welcome to any members of the public or members of the press that are listening in on this wet morning. First on our agenda this morning, our apologies for absence. I've received apologies from Councillor Claire Hall and Councillor Sarah Williams. I'm not aware of any others.
Chair, I don't have any others, no.
We don't. Okay, if you could register those, please. That takes us on to item 2 on the agenda, which is minutes of the previous meeting, which was held on Monday, the 2nd of September. You should all have received copies of that. Does anybody have any matters arising from those minutes? Take that as a no. I can't see any hands or anything. Just one question that I'd got on there was on item 8, the handbook, which says that it will be loaded up to our website. I'm just wondering, has that happened?
Sorry, yeah, you can hear me. Yeah, no, so we're just making some final tweaks and amendments that were sort of fed back to us during that member development session in September, and then a translation as well. So once obviously we have the translated version, it will be done, but it isn't there at the moment, Councillor Graham. Okay,
Catherine, thanks for that update on that. So is it your wish that those minutes are accepted? Looking for a proposer, please. Danny, Councillor Bebb, and a seconder.
Councillor Peat.
Oh, Councillor Peat. Okay, sorry, Pete, I couldn't see you there. Thanks very much. Which takes us on to any declarations of interest that there might be this morning. Please register if you have. I don't think there are any coming forward. And that takes us on to the next item on the agenda, which is the member champions role. And I think Catherine is going to take us through this item. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. So yeah, member champion report. So on page 7 of the agenda pack. So the report outlines how it was agreed at full council in July that member champion roles should continue, and they agreed that this committee should consider the roles, the responsibilities, the support and governance arrangements around those. So as you'll all recall, at the meeting on the 2nd of September, the committee did consider that, and the detail is obviously within the minutes you've just had. But just to recap, at the 2nd of September meeting, the committee agreed that they would use the WLGA generic role description and person specification, adopt that and amend if required for each specific member champion role, and that when a new member champion role is established, the information regarding that role should be circulated to all county councillors and expressions of interest would be sought. And if more than one councillor expressed an interest, then the leader with the chair of council and a relevant portfolio holder would consider each individual and recommend the appointment of a councillor as member champion to full council. Another thing that was agreed at the last meeting was that an annual report would be produced by each member champion and that the term of office would be for the whole of the council term. And lastly, that member champions should represent underrepresented or marginalised groups. So hopefully that's just to recap what had been agreed. So an action point from the last meeting was that all councillors should be asked via a short questionnaire what member champions were required going forward, and that once roles, responsibilities, support and governance arrangements were adopted, all member champion roles should be open to all members to express an interest. So a questionnaire was sent out by the team during September, and we had 14 responses back. It was resent to encourage additional uptake. So in total, we've had 20 responses back from county councillors, and details of those responses are provided in Appendix 2, which is page 11 of the pack. So the committee is asked to consider and make some recommendations to council in terms of how many member champions we have and what roles they will hold. So once the member champions have been appointed, any details would then be added to our council website with their role description and contact details on there as well. And any annual reports produced by those member champions would also be published after they had been presented to council. Thank you, Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Catherine. We have in the pack an awful lot of information provided by members in regard to their ideas and proposals around there. And I think if we were to accept everything that's included in there, we'd have as many champions as we've got councillors, I think. So I think we do need to look at this and be quite specific about what we want here. So I'm going to throw the floor open, and I've got first I've got Councillor Peter wants to come in, followed by Councillor Elwyn. So Peter, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I know we are where we are, but I'm just sort of struggling with this slightly because, you know, last time, or originally when it came to the committee, we decided not to continue with the roles. Paradoxically, then council decided to continue. But I think, as Catherine said there, we've only got 20 responses, which is less than a third of councillors. And if I've got my maths right, 7 of those responses said they didn't want member champions. So really, we've just got 13 councillors engaged and wanting member champions. For me, you know, this really can't work if the councillors aren't engaged and don't see it as necessary. So I don't know how productive in a way it is to consider we're trying to allocate members' roles if only 13 councillors see the benefit of it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Elwyn.
Well, thank you, Chair. Well, as a natural follow-on from that, as has been clear, I have been of the opinion previously that these posts were surplus to requirement in the council hierarchy. Obviously, full council didn't quite agree with that suggestion, but based on the responses and also the whole range of suggestions of potential posts, we could be a laughing stock, to be honest with you, if we went and followed some of those suggestions. Can I therefore suggest we stick to the 3 I think we currently have as posts, and keep that as it is, and we get reports back from them perhaps on the annual basis until the next for the next 12 months at least, but I would say to the next elections, and then the new authority can take stock of things. I think we have much more important things internally as a council to try and sort out and resolve than self-appointing a proliferation of champion roles. Thank you.
Thank you, Elwyn. Councillor Gareth.
Yeah, just to say, Chair, I'd like to thank Elwyn for what he just said, because I was going to say exactly the same. So I'd like to second his motion that we just keep to the 3 that we got now.
Thank you, Gareth. Anybody else wish to make any comment? Oh, Councillor Glynn.
Well, I suppose I'm in total agreement myself. Just a question as to process, as to whether we would take new expressions of interest for those 3 positions if we were to take that course of action, and he's sticking with the 3.
Yes, I'll take some advice from Clive or Catherine, but I think we have agreed that at the previous meeting that they would need to go back out for people to put their names forward.
Chair, that I think that's the process which was agreed at the last meeting. It doesn't mean that existing member champions can't express an interest, and they'll be open to election just like anybody else.
Yeah, and that would take place at the next full council meeting. Oh no, too late for the next one, isn't it? But
too late for the next one in early December, Chair.
So the next full council meeting is
Carol?
it February?
No, it's the one in January, but
January.
Oh, is there?
Next full council for business on the budget will be the first week of March, something like the 5th, 7th of March.
Oh. Okay, well, whenever we go forward to that. We had a proposal. We've got any amendments? Anybody else wish to speak on that? If not, we will take that as a proposal and seconded. So all those in favour? Any against? And any abstentions? An abstention from Councillor Peter. Thank you. So that motion's carried. It's quite simple. I thought we might have been there for a long while with that one, but I think that's a sensible conclusion that we've reached there. The next item on the agenda is the review of remuneration of the Chair of Employment Committee, still referred to as the Employment and Appeals Committee in the Constitution. And I think, Catherine, are you taking us through this one as well?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Graham.
Thank you.
Yeah, so at the last meeting, the committee did consider a report on the review of remuneration of the Chair of Employment Committee, and a copy of that report can be found in Appendix A, which is page 21 of your packs. So at the last meeting, it was noted that we were awaiting a response back from the Independent Remuneration Panel for Wales, sometimes known as the IRPW, on whether ad hoc payments could be made to chairs. The response that we had back from the IRPW was that they considered the issue, and they noted that the workload and responsibility of the chair had increased temporarily due to the recruitment of the chief executive and leadership team. So as noted in the attached Appendix B, in the schedule of remuneration, which is on page 27, there is a senior salary role that is unfulfilled, and Powys County Council do have the capacity to make a payment to the Chair of Employment Committee should they wish to. The IRPW did advise that the framework around remuneration does not include provision for one-off payments, and they also do not think this is an area where a one-off decision could be made. So if Powys County Council felt that the role deserved payment due to increased workload, that they could provide a payment for a fixed period. However, the IRPW obviously emphasised that it isn't their responsibility to advise on such matters.
Thank you, Catherine. Councillor Glynn?
I suppose the question is there for how long did the chair of that committee experience a higher workload? So are you saying, Catherine, that we could, for instance, allocate a senior salary for 2 months in lieu of the additional workload that the chair had during that time?
Yeah, for a fixed period, isn't it, Clive?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Catherine, and you could explain for Councillor Glynn what period of time that additional workload lasted for, please.
Yeah. We also have down in the report itself, we've got the detail of that. Obviously, the last time we spoke about this at the September meeting, we noted the times that committee had met, and it was within kind of a 2 to 3 month period at the start of this financial year. But during that time, there was a significant amount of meetings, as I'm sure you're all aware, in terms of recruitment, etc.
Sorry, just coming back then, Chair, if I can, I'd be perfectly comfortable to allocate that senior salary for 3 months in lieu of the additional workload, but I don't think we can justify doing so for the whole of a 12-month period, or until the next council term. So 3 months in lieu seems reasonable to me, given the additional workload.
Councillor Elwyn?
Well, I would support that suggestion and recommendation, Chair.
It was a particularly busy time. There's no question about that, and you can see from the figures for
Page
this current
23. Yeah.
this current financial year that I think there've only been 2 or 3 meetings, I think, so things have settled down back to normality, I think. Does anybody else wish to speak on this subject? Therefore, Councillor Gareth.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah. As a new member of this committee just coming on, if we're going to be able to do this in lieu, what's going to be the kind of the criteria for making this happen in the future? What are we going to need to set in place to be able to trigger the 3 month or 2 month or whatever is needed to compensate the chair moving forward. So this is set in stone and no confusion.
Well, I would think that it would have to come back to this committee
Absolutely.
as a one-off application, I suppose. But I'll take some advice from Clive on that.
Chair, you're absolutely right. Yeah, members will see from page 23 that there was basically 100% increase in this relative period. So any application to do this would have to have a report coming back to DSC, so that DSC can make that call themselves. So it's a decision for this committee, Councillor Gareth.
So be retrospective on anything moving forward. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, and my apologies for not giving you a welcome at the start to your first meeting as a member of this committee. So I'll do it now. Therefore, we've got a proposal and a seconder. Are there any amendments? If not, can we take a vote, please? I think that's unanimous. If not, did anybody abstain or vote against? I couldn't see. No, that looks to be unanimous. Thank you very much for that. That takes us on to the final item on our agenda, which is the Constitution. Clive, you have a small matter here just to bring forward, I think.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. Members will see from the report that Welsh Government are implementing Part 4 of the Public Health Wales Act 2017. They're only just doing it in Wales, and its implementation starts on the 29th of November 2024. And this relates to putting in place mandatory licensing schemes for practitioners in what is called special procedures. Well, there are 4 types of special procedures within the Act. That's acupuncture, body piercing, electrolysis, and tattooing. Members will see from the report, we currently have reference to these powers within the Constitution in Section 13, but it's under the Local Government Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1982, and under that Act, the licensing powers went to the Planning, Taxi, Licensing and Rights of Way Committee. Under the new regulations, we are required to have the function dealt with by the Licensing Act 2003 Committee. Chair, so we are changing the Constitution to reflect the move from the Planning, Taxi, Licensing and Right-of-Way Committee to the Licensing Act 2003 Committee, and it's basically as simple as that. We need to put this in place in order to have the functions in the proper place for our Constitution. So, members, I hope that you understood that it is technical, but we need it in place, and I'd ask for a proposal and a seconder so we can take this to Council.
Thank you, Clive. Councillor Elwyn's proposing, I think. Can we have a seconder for that? Councillor Glynn. All those in favour? Yeah, again, that's unanimous, I think.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members.
Thank you all. And that brings us to the conclusion of the meeting. Thank you, members, for attending this morning. And a good day to you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you,
Goodbye.
members.
Hello.
You all.